Karen said my daughter shouldn't even be outside, but that didn't stop her from speeding through the sidewalk until her bike smashed right into my baby's medical stroller. The crash wasn't just physical. It ripped open every fear, every fight, every sleepless night we'd endured just to keep our daughter alive. I never thought I'd have to explain to a stranger why my daughter's stroller looked different. It's not flashy. There's no bright fabric or cartoon animals. It's metal and reinforced and fitted with medical-grade support straps. Tubes connect to a small oxygen tank tucked into a side pouch. Her head has to rest at a perfect angle so her airway stays open. And every time we go outside, I double-check all of it. Every clip, every latch, every wheel, like I'm prepping for surgery, because I sort of am. My daughter, Ava, was born with a rare neuromuscular condition. Her body doesn't support itself the way it should. She's 2 years old now, and some days she has enough energy to wave at birds from her stroller. Other days she can't even lift her hand. That stroller isn't for convenience. It's her life support on wheels. That morning, the sky was finally clear after 3 days of rain. Ava hadn't been outside in a week. Too cold, too damp, too risky. But the sun had finally returned, and with it, a tiny glimpse of normalcy. I wrapped her in her favorite blanket, the one with the bumblebees, checked her oxygen monitor, and strapped her gently into the seat. Her fingers curled around the edge of the tray. I swear I saw her smile when she felt the breeze. We weren't going far, just a few blocks around the neighborhood. Sidewalks in our area aren't perfect, but they're wide enough to give her space, and I keep to the side, always aware, always alert. I walk a little slower than most parents with strollers. I'm not strolling, I'm safeguarding. We pass the same neighbor who always nods but never really looks. A few parked cars, a delivery truck. And then we reach the stretch that curves, past the playground. It's a quiet area usually. Kids laugh in the distance, swings creak, and the street dips slightly toward a shaded bend. I stopped for a second to adjust her head support. It sometimes slips when she tilts her chin. And as I did, I heard the sound. A sharp clicking. Then tires. Thin, fast tires. I turned my head just in time to see a woman, helmetless, legs pumping, hard, on a bright blue road bike barreling down the sidewalk. She was going way too fast. I raised a hand instinctively. "Hey, sidewalk!" But it was already too late. She didn't swerve, she didn't slow down, she didn't even call out. Her front tire clipped the edge of Ava's stroller with a sickening thud, and the entire frame lurched sideways. Ava's head whipped slightly as the shock traveled through the supports, and my hands were already gripping the sides, trying to hold everything together. The bike wobbled, swerved, and the woman crashed to the concrete with a shout, skin scraping against the pavement. The metal of her handlebars clanged loudly next to her, but I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at Ava. Her lips were trembling. Her monitor beeped once, twice, oxygen saturation dropping from the jolt. I fumbled for her tank dial, adjusted the flow, repositioned her head, and whispered, "You're okay, baby, you're okay," even though I was absolutely shaking inside. I had one hand steadying her airway and the other holding back tears. She made a soft sound, a scared little whimper, and I knew then just how deep that shock had gone through her fragile body. And then I heard the woman behind me groan. "You should have moved," she snapped, still on the ground. I froze. "What?" She sat up, checking her elbow, scowling at a tiny scrape on her knee like she had been wronged. "People like you take up the whole sidewalk. What's the point of walking if you're gonna block everything with that tank thing?" That tank thing was keeping my child alive. I turned slowly and faced her. My heart wasn't racing from fear anymore. It was something else now. Something fierce. Something that rose in my chest like a wave crashing over everything. "Do you even see what you hit?" I said, voice low. She rolled her eyes. "It's just a stroller." "No," I said. "It's not." She looked at it, at Ava, at the tubes, the brace, the soft eyes blinking through discomfort, and her expression changed for a second. Just a flicker. Then it hardened again. "Well, she shouldn't be out here if she's that fragile." She muttered, "It's not safe." My hands were clenched so tight around the stroller bar I could feel my nails digging into my palm. "Exactly," I said. "That's why we go slow. That's why we use the sidewalk. That's why we're careful." She didn't answer, just stood, limping slightly, brushing gravel off her yoga pants. I could have broken my arm. she muttered. I stared at her, disbelief thick in my throat. My daughter nearly suffered a medical trauma, and this woman was worried about her. Bike ride. She walked off without another word, pushing her bike in front of her like it was the real victim. I didn't call out. I didn't follow. I turned back to Ava, took a breath, and adjusted her tray again. Her oxygen levels were stabilizing, but I knew I'd be monitoring her the rest of the day, just to be safe. And even after she fell asleep that night, I'd be watching the monitor every hour, just in case the crash had shaken something loose we couldn't see yet. Because when your child lives on the edge of stability, every single jolt counts. That woman will forget about this by the time she gets home. But I'll remember it every time I leave the house again. Every time I hesitate at a sidewalk bend. Every time I tighten a strap or glance down the path to make sure no one's speeding our way. That wasn't just a crash. It was a reminder of how fragile our peace really is. I didn't sleep that night. Every time Ava made a sound, or didn't, I found myself out of bed, kneeling beside her crib, checking her vitals again. I'd replay that moment in my head on a loop, the wheels skidding, her little body jolting. Sideways, the monitor beeping, her lips parting like she couldn't quite catch her breath. That crash could have gone differently. A few more inches and her oxygen line could have torn. The stroller could have tipped fully. Her neck brace could have shifted. It's not dramatic to say a single second could have changed everything. And yet, the woman who caused it walked off, like she was inconvenienced by us, like we were just another obstacle on her fast-paced path through life. The next morning, I filed a report with the HOA. Not that I expected much. Our HOA was the kind that cared more about grass length and mailbox color than anything human. But we lived in a gated community, and technically, biking on sidewalks at high speeds was against the bylaws, especially near the park zones. I attached everything. Her description, the time of day, a photo of Ava's scuffed oxygen tank holder. I even included a note about medical vulnerability. I wasn't trying to get anyone in trouble. I just wanted someone to care. A week passed. Nothing. Then another. Still no response. And then, on a Thursday morning, I saw her again. She was coming down the same street. Same bike. Same carelessness. Except this time, I wasn't alone. Ava was safe, at home with her nurse, and I was walking back from the mailbox. As I turned the corner, I saw that unmistakable blur of blue and chrome zip past 3 kids and a golden retriever, like they were cones in her personal racetrack. I stepped aside fast, too fast, and watched her zip by again like nothing mattered. But her time and space, she didn't even look at me. I stood there, jaw clenched, while the dog's owner shook his head. She nearly took my max out last week, he muttered. So it wasn't just us. It never is, with people like her. Later that afternoon, I decided to walk over to the HOA office in person. I brought Ava's stroller, empty this time, to show them the damage. I carried the medical report. I carried a photo of Ava, smiling softly under her oxygen tube, the day before the crash. The woman at the front desk looked up and smiled like, I was just there to ask about pool hours. I submitted a report 2 weeks ago, I said, gently placing the documents on the counter, about a sidewalk bike collision. I just wanted to follow up. She glanced at her computer, typed something, then frowned. Huh. I don't see anything under your name. I sent it through the online portal. I got a confirmation email. Her fingers tapped again. Can you forward it to this address? She asked, scribbling down a generic contact email. I swallowed my frustration. Okay, but this is urgent. The cyclist is still riding through our area, still fast, still careless. My daughter has a medical condition. This wasn't a close call. It was an actual collision. And it could have ended so differently. Her expression softened, but only slightly. I understand. But unless someone from security sees it themselves, we can't take enforcement action. Even with a report? Even with photos? I'm sorry. It's just the policy. Policy. That word again. The one people hide behind when they don't want to feel responsible. When your child is vulnerable, you learn quickly how often people will choose policy over people. As I turned to leave, I passed a bulletin board cluttered with flyers. One of them caught my eye. Community biking guidelines. It had smiling, children on pastel bikes and vague reminders about speed limits. At the bottom, it read, "Let's all share the sidewalk." Apparently, sharing meant different things to different people. That evening, I watched the sidewalk from our porch. Ava was inside watching Bluey with her nurse, blissfully unaware. But I watched, and I waited. Sure enough, around 6:30 p.m., I saw her again. She zipped by like a blue lightning bolt. Same posture, same dead-ahead stare. Not a glance toward the people she passed, not even a flick of awareness. But this time, something changed. She braked hard near the corner, too hard, and her front tire caught the edge of the curb. She stumbled off, muttering, and this time she was the one almost falling. A neighbor nearby asked if she was okay. She waved him off. Then her eyes found me. We locked eyes. I didn't look away. She smirked, not with humor, with defiance, and I realized something. She didn't think she'd done anything wrong. In her mind, we were in her way. My daughter's stroller, her medical gear, my careful pace, it was all an inconvenience to her rush. She wasn't going to stop. She wasn't going to slow down. And no one, not the HOA, not a neighbor, not even a mother begging for safety, was going to change that. She picked up her bike and rode off again. No apology, no acknowledgement. I stood there for a long time after. She vanished around the bend. This wasn't about a bike anymore. This was about the line people cross when they start believing the world belongs to them alone. When someone else's child becomes background noise to their morning routine. I thought about staying silent. I thought about letting it go. But then, I pictured Ava, her soft curls, her brave little smile, the way she clutches her bumblebee blanket, and I knew silence wasn't an option. People like that don't stop until someone stops them. 2 days later, she did it again. This time, Ava and I were halfway through our afternoon loop. Her oxygen levels had been good all morning, and the sky was warm, not too hot, not too breezy. One of those rare days where everything seemed manageable. I was humming softly, the wheels rolling smoothly over the sidewalk cracks, Ava's fingers gently tapping against the side of her stroller tray. And then I heard it. That same rapid ticking of tires. I turned my head, and just like before, she was flying toward us, crouched low over the handlebars, weaving past pedestrians like they were nothing but scenery. This time, I had seconds. I moved as fast as I could, angling the stroller tightly toward a garden edge, shielding the exposed side with my body. My shoulder slammed into a hedge, and Ava let out a soft squeak, but we avoided the direct hit. The woman skidded past, missing us by inches. This time, she stopped. She actually stopped. Brakes squealed as she swung around and came riding back toward us, this time more slowly, but with her face already twisted into irritation. She dismounted, tossed one leg off the bike like it was a show of dominance, and snapped, "You know, you really shouldn't be walking in the middle of the sidewalk." I stared at her. "In the middle?" I repeated. "You take up the whole path. With that stroller cart thing. It's not safe. For anyone. For anyone." I looked down at Ava, her wide eyes already blinking faster from the sound and motion, her fingers curling into fists. Her oxygen monitor gave a little warning beep. Not dangerous, but lower than baseline. I turned back to the woman. "Let me explain something to you," I said, keeping my voice steady even as my hands trembled. "This isn't a stroller. It's medical equipment. My daughter has a condition that makes walking impossible. This device holds her upright, breathes with her, and monitors her heart rate. We're not taking up the sidewalk. We're barely surviving it." She rolled her eyes. "Well, you don't need to lecture me." I stepped forward once, not in aggression, but in presence. "You almost hit her again." "I didn't," she shot back. "You were in the way. If anything, you put her in danger by being out here." I froze. That's what she really believed, that we were the threat. I stared at her, this woman with expensive shoes and the latest fitness watch, talking down to me like I was reckless for trying to give my daughter fresh air without fearing for her life. "You need to stay off the sidewalk," she said again, brushing off her shorts. "Use the grass path or something. Do you hear yourself?" I asked quietly. Do you realize what you're saying? That we should hide. That my daughter shouldn't be seen. That kids like her don't belong outside where people might have to slow down for 5 seconds. She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. You hit her. She still flinches every time we turn a corner. She still wakes up from naps with clenched fists. She's 2, and she's braver than you'll ever be. The words came without planning. They came from deep in my gut, where the fear, anger, and fierce protection had been building for days. Not loud, not dramatic, just truth, solid and unmoving. She stared at me like I'd insulted her. Then she turned, mounted her bike again, and said under her breath, "Some people are so sensitive," and just like that, she rode away. This time, I didn't let it go. That night I made calls, first to the HOA, again, but then to someone higher. I found the city accessibility board. I wrote an official statement. I sent photos. I collected 3 witness reports from other neighbors who'd had near misses with her on that same stretch of sidewalk. It didn't happen overnight, but momentum builds when you refuse to be quiet. 2 weeks later, I got an email. The city was planning to install new signs near the park area, speed limits for sidewalk cyclists, warnings about accessibility zones, and more importantly, fines, enforceable ones. And the woman on the bike? She got a citation. Someone from the HOA finally reviewed the camera footage. She'd been caught, zipping through multiple corners without yielding to pedestrians. She'd ignored 3 signs. The same neighbor who'd spoken up about his golden retriever also submitted a video he'd taken weeks earlier when she nearly clipped his leash. The community was watching now. She didn't like it. I saw her once more, a week after the signs went up. She was walking her bike, helmet on, expression stiff. She saw me across the street, paused, then looked away. She didn't say a word, and for the first time, neither did I. I just kept walking, one hand steady on Ava's stroller, the other gently adjusting her oxygen line as we rolled forward. Slow, steady, and exactly where we belonged. Ava was humming softly, her blanket tucked neatly under her chin, eyes half closed in the sunlight. No jolts, no sudden shocks, just air, peace, and space to exist. We didn't win a war, but we made it known. We're not invisible. We're not in the way. And we're done apologizing for needing space in a world that's always rushing past people like her. That sidewalk doesn't belong to anyone, but my daughter deserves to be on it just as much as anyone else. And I'll never let anyone make her feel like she doesn't.